We are live, likely with the delay. Welcome, everybody. This is another dev update with Josh and Nick in the Satoshiverse, Satoshi's Legions 2.5 release. This is a patch, not the new phase. As you notice, it's not 3.0. So one of the big things we won't be doing this time around is resetting all your data. So we do have new content. We're not going to show all of it today. We don't want to spoil everything. Do you want to speak to some of this stuff, Nick, or do you want me to run through abilities and supercharge?
Yeah, I can talk to some of it. Let's see. So you are on the screen right now. I'm just navigating between my Twitch stream and this one. So you're going to see a couple things immediately. So if you look at the right side, well, I guess let's start with the system screen, because that'll lead us to the other screen. Basically, one of the things that we've kind of been teasing and that we're going to announce soon is our supercharged components. So this is going to be like a whole new level of component that is similar to like the uniques for the weapons, but it's almost going to be a further evolution of the evolved components. And so each component is going to give you a different boost in and of itself. And then there's going to be something called the supercharged state, which is kind of almost like Super Saiyan mode from Dragon Ball Z. It really charges up your character and makes the character a lot stronger for a period of time. And the different components determine what boosts you get. But one of the key things on those components is that the two offensive components, the SSD and the RAM, actually not only give you something during the supercharged mode, so for example, the SSD is going to give you 25% or 8% attack speed boost during the supercharged state, but it's also going to give you an extra ability slot. So the two it's the RAM and I think the SSD will each give you an extra ability slot. So if you have a supercharged RAM and a supercharged SSD, you'll be able to use the three abilities at the same time in game. So if you're seeing Josh's screen now, he's got the three abilities there, and he can select which one is his primary, which one's his secondary, which one's the third, and he's going to be able to use that when he enters into the run. The supercharged components are also going to give you a bit of a stat bump over the evolved components at the same power level. So there's definitely going to be some boosts there. And then on top of that, you've got some new UI updates that we did. We added videos for the different abilities so that you can kind of see what they do. But yeah, I think that's the gist of the supercharged state. You'll be able to see once Josh enters into the game what the big changes are. Josh,
Also,
did you have
and
anything
maybe,
you want to add?
yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe you said it, but I'm not sure. But in order to get the supercharged ability, you need to have all 5 supercharged components
Right.
equipped.
Yeah,
Which we
and
do
those are
here.
actually. So yeah, Josh has the full set. Those are actually going to require a new resource called Satoshi's Charges, and that's what's going to, along with crystals, that's what's going to allow you to supercharge your evolved components. You'll be able to start that at level 7, and then really enter into the supercharged state at that point. So Josh will
We're going
jump
in.
in now, and we'll check it out.
All right. So as you see down below, now I have my supercharged set. Currently, we're using the old shield icon. We'll get something new in there when we can. But that familiar one on the bottom left is shield. It uses the same ability key by default that the shield did before. Q up on your left finger, and then also next to that, you now see in the current release of the game, whereas you had one of those abilities, now we have all 3 equipped. So with this, we did some new key mapping. I'll jump in here real quick and just to show you. But now we've got, now we have secondary attacks on the right mouse button. We have all 3 abilities that can be used, not at the same time, meaning like concurrently, but that you can, bring them into the game and have access to all 3 of your abilities in one run. And they are all on their own separate cooldowns. So now that you just kind of more action, right? Less, the moment-to-moment gameplay is can be mixed up much more now. You can change your strategies now. How you want to clear a room, which will speak to something cool in terms of clearing fast soon. I'll let Nick speak to that. But so now we've got E, R, and F, which is basically just the keys close to your pointer finger. And so let's get into game and see that. Also, gamepad, revamped the gamepad completely so that it can utilize this new system to have all 3 abilities in the game at one time, to have access to the new supercharged ability. So we basically, we just have a lot more going on now as a foundation within each run. Currently, so as you see right now, everything on the bottom left is, and I'll get in and start getting into some action and start fighting here and while I'm talking, but everything is set to the base, energy ability. So knockback. So now we've got the single. And we get our wave in here, and then we can get in here and do our AOE. But it's all the energy abilities. Right now, with the current implementation, when you get the elemental upgrade, or at the end of the sector, it will apply that element to all 3 abilities. What we're hoping to do in the future, or it's definitely the plan, is to make it so that we can actually mix that up. I know that's spoiling a little bit, Nick, but I won't go any further than that. But obviously, again, we're still in content creation phase, making changes to the game, making improvements to the game, and getting content out that's also, in a clean, playable state, so you guys can continue to give us feedback. But obviously changes continue to be made, so nothing you see here is guaranteed to remain, final into the final game, as we just continue to push to make things better and better. So the free upgrade that I have at the end happens to be an elemental upgrade, so I'll grab this now, and what you'll see, now I have all 3 poison abilities, all on their own cooldown. Now I've intentionally not yet activated the supercharge. We'll save that for the next room. Don't want to throw too much at you at once, but yeah. So one of the new things that we're having a lot of fun with is just having access to more of those abilities. Obviously, when you're at the highest, levels of the game, and just get access to the supercharged components, which is new to this release.
Yeah, and so
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to touch on, actually, why don't you take them through the supercharged state, and then we'll talk about the timer.
All right. So supercharged state, you activate the ability. It's running for 8 seconds by default. There's some things you can do to reduce that, but once you do that, and again, I'll also put this caveat out there. This is a last-minute VFX that we have created for it, but that is not final. We're actually working on much better, animation, VFX, and everything for it. It's just to get the functionality in the game so that it works. So here we go. So you basically go into a berserk mode where you have increased movement speed, increased attack speed, increased attack damage, and it's just this kind of supercharged state that you get for a few seconds that you can use against a boss, against a room full of enemies. I'll throw it at you, Nick, if you have anything else you want to add there.
Yeah, I mean, The cool thing I've been liking is when you go into the supercharged state, because you're hitting so quickly in later levels, it typically triggers your nuke weapon. And so, you know, that combination when you're trying to push the later levels is really powerful, and can be kind of used as a pack clearing mechanism. And so the idea is that those items scale over time. So each item is going to have a different supercharged effect, right? So, you know, one of them is going to reduce the cooldown of supercharge, which is on its own cooldown. One of them is going to increase the mitigation effect of supercharge. One is going to increase the attack speed. One is going to increase the damage. Then I think I'm forgetting something, but each component, as you then take it to the next power level, is going to have an effect on, you know, the supercharged state itself, or how quickly you can trigger the supercharged state. So the idea is, as you progress further, that supercharge is going to become more and more powerful and more pivotal. Oh, the one I was forgetting was the duration. So one of the components is going to control the duration in the supercharged state. So the idea is, you know, as you start min-maxing and prioritizing certain things, the supercharged state is going to be something you can trigger pretty often and really push those deep levels. One thing we've mentioned before that we're working on is difficulty scaling. So, you know, later in the game, you're going to be able to crank up the difficulty. That's something we're looking at for phase 3. And you'll be able to actually tune the game kind of based on your character's capabilities. So that's going to obviously give you better items and better loot, and you know, it's going to be balanced against playing on a lower level. But the idea is that you're going to want to, you know, not only compete to see who can clear the highest levels, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that tuning will directly benefit, you know, your chances to find loot. Similar to rifts in Diablo, if you guys are familiar with that, we thought that was a really good system combined with our roguelike mechanic to implement from a tuning perspective, you know, so that players could essentially self-tune the game. You know, one thing that you see on the screen, which has been there since we started because we were testing it, is the, or at least started this phase, is the timer. And so that is going to become a lot more important in this phase. So one of the things that we're not going to have is the 8-mo army and legionnaire blueprint drops. Instead, we're going to be doing our first big test of our leaderboard functionality. And so what we're going to do is that leaderboard is going to have, in order to get on the leaderboard, it's going to be a speed run through Shiyuki. So in this iteration, it'll just be, you know, these first 10 levels through level 10 boss, which will be Shiyuki. And if you beat her, your time is going to get recorded on the leaderboard. At the end of the period, likely the end of phase 2.5, you're going to get prizes related to where you are on the leaderboard. So we're going to have some cool prizes, obviously, for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So it'll be a fun dynamic. Of course, we're just going to be testing it on this run, so there's probably going to be things that aren't perfect about the leaderboard mechanic. But you know, it's kind of we're while we do want to introduce this competitive element with prizes, it's really important for us to get the feedback and see what's broken. So this one is going to probably be a bit more flexible in terms of, you know, getting that feedback, seeing if there's any exploits, correcting for exploits, so that when we do go live to a much bigger audience, we can implement this, you know, leaderboard contest on a broader scale and really have these larger competitions that add, you know, a sense of, you know, speed running and whatnot, and competition to the single player version of the game, which, you know, we're really excited about this feature. I think it's pretty core to what we're trying to design long term. I think that when combined with the difficulty scaling, this is going to present some really interesting options for us in terms of, you know, who can clear the highest difficulty in the fastest time. And really, once we have thousands of players, seeing where people are landing, seeing the min maxing, seeing the choices people make. Adding that speedrun component really makes you think about the items more deeply. It makes you think about your path to the level, the choices you make more deeply, and really starts to refine your expertise in clearing the level. So it's definitely this first iteration, like I said, is going to be testing, but the second iteration and third iteration we're hoping will really be something that we can use to make the game a lot more interesting. So we're definitely super excited about this, and yeah, we'll see if you guys maybe we'll compete against you guys, even though we don't get the prizes. We'll see if you guys can beat our high scores as we go on, and maybe make some fun out of it. But yeah, so Josh is now in sector question mark.
Oh,
And it's an RTM level. Those who have been following Twitter probably have seen. Oh, so that's something new. That is Venom Core there. So if you guys thought
fight poison
flamethrowers were bad, yep. Now we've got
fire with fire.
Oh, there you go. Now we've got a poison enemy to make life even better in the outskirts. And then there will be a boss, but
which we're not going to spoil.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil the boss.
I'll
Although since we're not, go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Just saying, I'll show you the door. No, right turn.
Oh, it's okay. I think we may have lost the feed.
No. What?
Give it a second. It just cut out. It may have only cut out for me though, so other people might be like, "No, Nick, it's fine." But I'm frozen. I see it as frozen.
Look at that. What's back in there?
I think we're frozen, Josh.
Are we? Oh, damn. I mean, everything.
Well, we're frozen for me. Let me see if everybody else is okay. Well, no one else has said we're frozen. So if we're not frozen, or if we are frozen, can you let us know?
I'm going to show everybody everything. Nick can't see what I'm going to show you.
Because I'm going to refresh. But...
All right, I'm not going past this point. I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, now I can see you. So yeah, it was probably just me. Sorry, guys. I think my internet just killed out. All right, so yeah, so we have our new boss coming, which you guys might have seen on. Yeah, don't go any further, Josh. I figured that cinematic. But yeah, so we're not resetting the levels. So those of you with level 10 avatars should experience this boss rather quickly. We wanted to do this because there was a little bit of a trade-off here, just so that you guys kind of can align with what we were thinking. We were thinking about resetting everything so that you would have kind of the low-level playthrough experience of experiencing this boss at the right level. The reason we don't want to do that is because we really do want to get a lot of data on the speedrun feature, which we think, while we're really excited about the boss and the content is important, we really do want to get some data on these speedruns and a fast playthrough of the game. So we're not resetting the data here, but what I would recommend is if you guys want to experience the boss at the right level for the first time, I would try starting with a level 1 avatar for this this game. You're gonna get boosts just because of the way currently that the level 1 avatars work with system proficiencies and combat proficiency. So your level 1 avatar is actually going to level up quite a bit faster than a normal avatar would. That's actually something we'll probably change, but in the current build you'll have that advantage with a level 1 avatar. So I would recommend, if you want to experience the game without the spoilers, go with a level 1 avatar, level it up to level 5 or 6, and then fight the new boss. Otherwise, you can fight it with a level 10, but it's gonna, you're gonna plow through it, and it's going to, you'll get the experience, you'll see the cinematic, but you won't get the full fight through experience. The boss is Julio Iglesias. Well, I don't want to defame Julio Iglesias by making him the bad guy in our game. But he Yeah, so does anyone have any questions? I mean, the three big new content updates are supercharged components in the supercharged state, the leaderboard and speed runs, and the new boss. So that's
And
kind of
using
what
all
we've been
abilities at
working
the same
hard on.
time.
And he's right. So related to the supercharged components, the ability to use all abilities at the same time. That's pretty huge actually. But does anyone have questions? Happy to answer any questions you guys have. I know everybody's very, interested in the Discord. That's another thing, we've been trying to, we see everything that you guys post in the Discord. So please do keep testing, keep posting. We're talking about those comments in our meetings. They're getting incorporated into our design discussions. I think what we're going to be doing a little bit more in the future is kind of just me or Josh getting into the Discord and streaming us playing and or testing the game, just so that we can have more casual conversations about this. So that's not, just every 3-4 weeks a developer update, but we can actually have just more casual discussion. At this point, there's not a ton that we're hiding, in terms we don't want to spoil content, but most of the systems that we're tweaking are just being refined at this point, and we're getting, these couple systems that we put in for this patch are a couple of our major systems that we wanted to get in. Just so that you know what's coming, we're currently working on the third of our 3 gangs, so there will be a third gang. Progression will go to sector 15 or 16. We've got new weapons, new items, avatar progression beyond 16, and we're working on the initial iteration of our difficulty scaling system. And so those will be kind of along with, moving towards mainnet blockchain items and several other features as we gear up for our collectors and partners release, which is really going to be our big, public showing of the game. Right now, we're really happy about the amount of kind of community testing that we're having and the feedback we're getting, and it's good that it's kind of a smaller pool of people playing the game, so that we can really take that feedback in and kind of combine it with our own feedback. But we're really working on getting something ready to be released, because we want, even if we're releasing an alpha state more broadly, we want people playing the game. We want to start having that competitive element. We want to start having all the fun that actually getting stuff on the blockchain without resetting the data will bring. And we're working towards that really hard. The whole team's working around the clock to get this stuff out. Everybody's pushing deadlines every week, so I can definitely attest to the fact that we're all working like crazy during this crazy market, and it's not stopping us in any way. So just that positive spirit that you guys always have in the Discord is much appreciated, because we're all working hard and burning the midnight oil to get this stuff out. But yeah, I think you guys are gonna love what's coming. Josh and I have had a ton of fun speed running the map. I think it adds a whole new component. Having the 3 abilities definitely makes the combat more dynamic, which is really cool. And we're gonna want to definitely get some feedback on that. The supercharged state is like basically God mode right now, so we'll see if we tune it a little bit or anything. But it's really strong, and it'll be fun to see how you guys use it in your playthroughs. But talk to me a little bit, guys. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I just want to say there, regarding kind of supercharged. I mean, it's intended that we allow you, once you get to your max level of your avatar, and that's kind of put you at like what level you need to just be able to beat sectors at your level. But to kind of overpower yourself, that comes into play with the difficulty dials, right? Like giving the player the ability to get these other features, right? Getting supercharged, getting multiple abilities. It's almost like another form of leveling up outside of just the normal, data point based, experience avatar progression, so that then once you're like super OP and you're, you know, clearing through the bosses quickly in those leaderboards, right? Like you can then choose to turn up the dials, make things a little more difficult, but also give yourself, you know, better loot, better drop chances, all that sort of thing. So that's all part of the design is making it, you know, extending the progression beyond just, oh, now I'm level 10, now I'm level 15, now I'm level 20, and that's it.
Right.
You kind of keep pushing that via itemization and the unique items and the supercharged components.
Yeah, and we've said this, you know, I think sometimes before, and kind of the games that have really inspired this game are, from a combat perspective, God of War. God of War. From a you know, gameplay perspective, a lot of Hades and other roguelikes. But then distilling a lot of the player progression and one particular system that we think is really good for an end game state from Diablo. And so if you're familiar with Diablo 3, you know, Blizzard spent a ton of money and time developing the game, right? And built an incredible, you know, story and playthrough. And, you know, it's one of my favorite games. I like Diablo 2 a little bit better, but Diablo 3 was one of my other favorite games. Oh man. That was the lower level avatar?
Oh yeah, that was a level 1 avatar.
Oh, okay. But I was like, you died at the level 10?
No, level 1, but with level 10 training proficiency. Oh, we should mention that. Or maybe not, whatever. But there's still going to be some tuning adjustments there.
Yeah, I mentioned that before, that yeah, your level 1 avatar still gets the strength boost from your proficiencies. So the currently level 1 avatars, once you've leveled up your proficiencies, are kind of OP. We're going to turn that down for phase 3. It's just how much it affects it, but there will be a bonus. We plan on at least having a bonus once you've leveled up a character. So, you know, having those higher proficiencies will allow you to level up faster. So I guess what I was saying about Diablo 3 is that, you know, Blizzard spent all that time making the game, and then you know, people played the game, they liked the game, they beat the game, but the majority of time that people spent playing the game was in this Rift system. And, you know, as opposed to Diablo 2, where, you know, your main goal was speed running, you know, bosses to just try to get an item, like a particular item that drops, Diablo 3 built in something called the Paragon system, which basically once your level was maxed out, you could continue to max it out, even though you were at an end game state. And then coupled with that, they had the difficulty scaling system. And so essentially what happens is you have these rifts that are, you know, called greater rifts, and every time you beat one, you're able to unlock the next 3, and, you know, that allows you to progress further and further. And then they have leaderboards tied to seasons. We thought that that gameplay mechanic, which is what most people do once they've beaten Diablo 3, was a perfect kind of overarching mechanic for our game, given the roguelike, you know, gameplay. So we thought that mechanic, the Diablo, the Rift system basically did have a roguelike mechanic. You start at the beginning, the levels get progressively further until you beat the boss at the end. So that we thought that, you know, since we were using a lot of the progression from Diablo, some of that idea of character scaling and item scaling, adding the Rift's difficulty scaling system made a ton of sense. Of course, we are modifying a few things. At some point soon, you know, our game will obviously have a lot more story. The Rifts is just, you know, kind of a grind. There's no real story to it. But the idea and the basic gameplay loop is the same, in that, you know, the idea is to clear them as quickly as you can at higher difficulties, and that's kind of what keeps the progression fun and the loop fun, while keeps still having that arcadey feel to it. And that's, I guess, where we differ from games like Diablo and Hades, is that we have that really fast-paced, you know, gameplay, which is closer to, you know, Dark Souls, God of War, you know, it's the other one with The Witcher, that, you know, these combat, melee based games, third person. And so, yeah, so I think there's, we are taking inspiration from a lot of these games. Of course, the other thing that, is obviously an important thing, and something we always want to be transparent about is, we're not a 500-person studio like, Blizzard, Activision. We don't have, $50 million to throw at a single title and 4 years to develop it. So I think that's why a lot of our development is similar to Hades, where they developed the game gradually over several years and then eventually won, Game of the Year with a boutique studio. But those first iterations of the game were very, very basic, and they didn't have all of the components that they landed on with the final version of the game. And even the game itself is, a little bit from like a graphics and gameplay dynamics is a little bit simpler, right? It's a zoomed out third person dungeon crawler. But no, it's cool. I mean, Diablo, I love, my favorite game, so I love it. It's not our dynamic, so we have to think a little bit more about the combat system probably than Hades did or Diablo does, right? Because that's just button mashing, and then they create their variety with a ton of different abilities and skills and all that, whereas we are physics-based combat, so there's a little bit more we have to do, right, with the combat mechanics themselves and the physics and how everything connects there.
Yeah, we're making our own thing. We're not just like, oh, let's just copy this game exactly. And in general, game development is you have a huge toolbox of mechanics and things to choose from, and you mix and match and come up with new stuff. You borrow other things and you make your own experience. But ultimately, it's defining what you want that user experience to be, what you want the player emotion to be. So we want something that has longevity. So like via the dials, right? Like so that once you beat the game and you see the cinematics and the story, it's not all over for you. Obviously, a lot of people are going to want to play and continue to collect items and their drops and their NFTs, and so there's just going to be meta games and just other things that we're going to want to do beyond this as well, right? Like as much as we can. So we definitely have a vision to make something that's our own and awesome. And when I say our own, I mean you guys are part of the hour, right? So we want to make something awesome for this space. It deserves it. It's lacking. There's not a whole lot here, and we think it's the future. So it's my thing.
Definitely. No, I agree. Do we have any questions, guys, in the audience? Do you have any thoughts or want to know more about anything particular? If we don't have questions, we'll probably wrap it up soon. And then so I guess, we can announce that the plan, and now don't hold me to this, but the plan is to release this week. So the idea is that Friday we will be going live with this. So that's the alpha, but we could hit a bug. We're still testing the final version, so if we hit a bug and need to fix it, that'll probably push it out to next week. But definitely in the next week to 2 weeks, we are going to be releasing this patch and starting the leaderboard. So it's going to be real soon that this is in your hands and able to be played, and you can try out all the new features that Josh is testing and playing with right now. Does any questions, or should we wrap it up? We'll give it another couple minutes.
Do we want to, for people that hung in there this long, do we want to spoil anything from 3? Like tell them 1 or 2 of the weapons, the basic weapons we're gonna, release, or do we want to save all of that? Just
I mean, I don't even know that we know for sure which ones are going in yet. I think we have an idea, but I think we keep that for the next one.
Okay.
Keep it interesting next time.
Me, I'm Mr. Spoiler. I hate things being spoiled.
Yeah, no, I think,
and I love spoiling things.
We already said some alpha from 3,
so
whoever is listening will have gotten some of the plan of what's coming with 3. But all right, so I don't see any questions. So I think we can wrap it up with Josh beating up on all these RTMs. Oh, one other thing that got implemented, I think I'm trying to look at it now, is So we had originally had randomization on
Oh yeah.
the Shizuku characters, and now we've added some randomization on the RTM characters as well. So there should be more variety in the looks, the aesthetics of the enemies within the game. Although I wasn't seeing it there, so maybe we should double check that it actually
It's on it's
was
on the
in.
axe ones, but not the guys that have the sword
Okay,
arm.
that
So
makes sense.
so since the sword arm guys all look the same, it kind of tricks you into
Yeah.
thinking it's all the same. So obviously that's just a first pass. Oh, it's like I'm chopping or something, but anyways, yeah, it's a first pass at it. We got
Cool.
more to do.
Yeah,
We did it. We did it with the throwers as well. The flamethrower and the poison thrower have some variety now too. But again, first pass.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, there's the. Oh, they've got the name wrong.
What?
You're gonna have to fix that.
What did we miss?
The
name
name
of
is
the
off
Viper?
on the. Yeah, the name
Viper?
is off on Viper Core.
What did
It
it
says
say?
Hinoshi.
Oh. Uh oh.
I think we can. That'll be.
Leave it here.
I think that'll be let slidable. Yeah, but
We are here.
we'll bug that.
I gotta fix that too.
So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining. We will we'll update you guys very soon on status of the release, but we've got some awesome stuff coming. So thanks for being here. Feel free to ask any questions, and we will get you any answers that you want. But we are excited to keep building. Enjoy your week and weekend, and looking forward to hopefully getting this out this week and having you all play it and give us some feedback. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody in the crowd. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, everybody.